Hi, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Ife's space. Do you like the environment? So cozy, like seems like a proper studio. Anyway, I'm still on the cruise ship. Yeah, recording live from MSC Divina. Today we'll be talking about parenting in Malta. So at the time I'll be posting this video, I think schools in Malta have just resumed. Right? Usually they resume late September towards the beginning of October. And imagine they've been on holiday since end of June, so almost 3 full months holiday. As the environment kind of encouraged, or will I say made life harder for parents, would say. So welcome back to my channel. So I'll just be talking quickly about parenting in Malta, how it has been. When we moved here, my children one was 4, the other was 2, so and we've been here 6 years, so they are now like, of course, way older, right? And I would just like to kind of talk about, I would say parenting in Nigeria was for like just 4 years, so I've been more of a parent in Malta than in Nigeria, if that makes sense. But I would say just during this period, right, compared to when I was in Nigeria, I would, like, if I look back, I would say I wish they were born here and they kind of grew up here. Aside maybe when they were born, like, when the child is born, you need people to take care of the child and stuff like that, and of course you have family, you have parents around that would help and so. But aside that, in terms of when you now have to go back to work, I find this place way easier because, first of all, because of cost, in the sense that here, if you work full time, your children would have they would have access to free child care. Yeah. From 3 months of age, I think even less than 3 months, till when they are 3 years old, they can stay in the childcare for free if both parents work. Childcare is usually from I think 7 a.m. to like 6 p.m. or 6:30, 5:30, depending on the childcare. Compared to Nigeria, I know how much we're paying for childcare and after school care. It was hard, and we hardly had time for the children because when we go pick them up from childcare, it's already like almost late in the evening. We come back, we'll have dinner, go to bed, prepare for early the next morning. Like, that was how our life was. But here in Malta, it's way different. It's a different case. Maybe because we work from home. I think that's another thing we need to consider. But even when we're not working from home, we do not leave that early. Maybe because it's a smaller country, so there's no traffic. But we'll drop them off at childcare, after school care, and then pick them up around like 6 o'clock. And after school care is not free, by the way. We pay around 80 cents per hour. It just makes it easier basically to know that there's an option that will not break the bank. This is just for working parents in terms of the child care and the after school care. Primary, kinder, secondary is free in state schools. However, there are independent schools. I've talked about it before, how the schooling works in Malta, right? If you have children, it is not free of charge in independent schools and church school. Church school, they pay like a donation of I think around 500 euros per year. But for private schools, they pay a lot of money. But then state schools are free of charge. And to be honest, like, if we're living in certain areas, our kids will go to church, to a state school, because to be honest, it's really dependent on areas. There are certain areas basically that they pay so much attention to. But an area where there are so many foreigners, it has an advantage in the sense that it's very diverse and there are a lot of nationalities. But in terms of the standard and quality of education, even teachers and all, I am not sure. So another thing I would like to talk about, so I've talked about childcare and after school care, I've talked about the free education and state schools. Another thing I would like to talk about is discipline. So most times people will be like, oh, okay, raising your children abroad, it's different from back in, especially in my case, Nigeria, Africa, we don't know how it is, European style and stuff. But to be very honest, maybe because Malta specifically is still very conservative, anything that will be put out there that in one way or the other would affect the children, it will not fly at all, So they are very intentional about children here. So in terms of discipline, for me personally, how, especially as a Nigerian mom living abroad, right? How you say, when my child is like in secondary school, I will send the child back home to Nigeria for proper discipline and all. I've never had any reason to even think about that. In fact, anyway, now in Nigeria, it's not as if there's any difference. In fact, I think I even prefer the discipline here abroad than in Nigeria. In schools, if you're going to drop your children at school, or if you're coming to the school environment, even certain places generally, they'll be like, oh, you cannot dress certain ways. You can, especially during summer, you tend to see different terrible dresses, especially from foreigners. I'm saying foreigners, as if I'm not a foreigner, especially from tourists who come here on holiday. Like, but they'll be like, no, you cannot wear shorts to come pick your children or come for any activity at all in school. You cannot show your cleavage. You cannot wear even like a sleeveless clothing. Can you imagine? You have to like be kind of fully clothed even in summer. So the environment is still very, very sane. Even in school, they'll be like, especially in my children's school, oh my god, you cannot wear like dangling earrings. You cannot use. In fact, like for my son now, they will say no. There was a time they kept complaining, oh, you cannot have footballer hairstyle, and I'm like, which one is footballer hairstyle, you know? But it has to be neat, low cut, no style, no dreads, nothing. Do you understand? Call me old fashioned, but it is what it is. Me, that is my own. I mean, that is how let's say it. I like that. I mean, I like the fact that they are very, very cultured. That's the word. You know, they do not allow them dress anyhow. You cannot wear very short things. Do you understand? Not even just in my children's school. Well, I don't know about state schools though, but even in state schools, I think they also have certain in terms of morals, values. Here and there, they try to instill all of these things. Even not even just in schools, like even in like public places and all. Do you know that even as a child, if you want to start school at age 3, your child needs to be independent enough to know how to wipe after themselves. So if they go to pool they should be able to clean up after themselves, because they see it as abuse, or they do not think it is right for an adult to be cleaning up after a 3-year-old. So they are very, very particular about these things. Anything that looks or appears like abuse is a no-no. You see all these things, we see some things on the news here every now and then. For example, the other day there was a state, I think it's usually, and the thing is that it's usually a state school. You hear, oh, okay, maybe in the bus, for example, I'll try and see if I can see the publication. They said they were doing like firecrackers in the bus, and I think there was fire in the bus or something, and it was among the students. The other time, I think in another state school, they were fighting with knives or something like that. I mean, you hear all these things and you're like, what, why, and all. And the truth of the matter is, forget. Like I said, my children go to a very, very good Christian Bible believing, or whatever I will call it, school, where they impact a lot of morals and values in them. But still, when I hear of some things that some children do, some students, I'm like, in this strict school, these things still happen, you know. So the fact that, and not just in their school, I mean other private schools as well, there will be a lot of things going on, but they know how to manage it, if you get what I mean. But since it's state school, people believe that, oh, okay, yeah, state schools, they're not good because of that. Everywhere, all these things happen to everywhere, be it a state, a private, a church school, wherever. That's why at the end of the day, I keep saying it, that it has to do with the parents, it has to do with the upbringing. I mean, what is being impacted at home, you know, how much, if you are really being present for the children and you are actually in their lives. Because to be honest, even sometimes in our own home, I kind of like will try to make a very, very intentional effort to be in, like, have like some sort of family bonding every evening. Because sometimes you see, oh, one person is in the room, one person is in the living room, like we're in different corners of the house with our devices, and then most times we get carried away. So what I'm trying to say is that one has to be really present in the children's lives. So regardless of state, whatever school, it's still the same thing in terms of discipline. The only advantage that other schools have is maybe because if there is a problem with discipline, they can suspend. Even in state schools, they actually do suspend the children. You know, maybe they can expel the child, and then the child will now go to a state school. State schools, I do not think they are allowed to. I don't know if they can actually expel a child if it gets too bad. Maybe they kind of enroll them in a rehabilitation center. I don't know, but basically those are just the differences. But otherwise, in terms of discipline, you find badly behaved children everywhere. I don't even like to consider any child badly behaved, because I just feel that everybody is a work in progress. Even as an adult, I'm a child. At least I'm someone's child, so everyone is a work in progress. striving to do better, there's always room for improvement. So I do not like to write off anyone. So that is why a parent still has to be there regardless of where your child attends. In some schools, there might be a lot of, it might be more pronounced than others, but still at the end of the day, you still see very lovely, brilliant, well-behaved minds, well-behaved children who graduate from state school. So at the end of the day, it all depends on the family, the home, not necessarily the school. They spend how many hours a day in school? Maybe 6 hours, 7 hours. In fact, recently on one of those posts where they talked about 2 children fighting with knives or so, like people are now commenting and saying, oh, why would this be happening in a state school? It is bad and all of that. People were really like blaming parents. And then there were a couple of comments, I think like 1 or 2 comments, they're saying that, but it's not our fault. Why would they be blaming parents? That what will you do if you cannot control? That the children watch, they have social media accounts and everything, even from like primary school. They have access to internet, so they see all these things and learn all these things from the internet. And someone responded, and I was also of that school of thought that, okay, so that's the problem right there. Because if you cannot control as a primary school child, if you cannot, let me not use the word control, because now we are in a world where you do not insist or, let's say, force things down children's throat. But if you cannot, let's say, guide your children into watching the right things and knowing what to do, and or even not, do they even have to have like social media accounts at primary school age, or do they need to be that exposed to the internet? If you cannot put that measure when they're in primary school, so what would not happen when they're in secondary school, when they become teenagers and young adults? It's a new school year, the children have just resumed. And of course they had like 3 months holiday, so it's all about the bonding doesn't end, it still continues, it's still ongoing, it's a lifelong thing. Like, you need to be present and involved in their lives, So in terms of discipline, everywhere, be it private or government schools, it's all the same. But I would say it is properly, like, everybody's very self-aware here in Malta, to be very honest. Like, the children are very independent as well. They try to teach them how to be very independent from a very young age, and they try to instill the right values. If I would be honest, like, even in state schools, like, they try to instill the right values, So it all depends on the parents at the end of the day. The other day, it was not a parent that was fighting and a teacher, that kind of thing. So you see, so if a parent is fighting a teacher, what will you be teaching your child? So basically, parenting in Malta has been a very rewarding one. A few drawbacks that I've noticed is, as far as the system tries to support and encourage working parents, right? They do not, there's some instance, okay, I'll give an instance. For example, we just wanted to do like some sort of routine checks, and the hospital gave us appointments for the children, like to do like routine checks. They give them appointment in the morning during school hours. And when I saw it, in fact, like, I think they even open just from like 9 to like 2 o'clock during the weekdays. So I'm saying that that's for the pediatric unit. That means, and it's not like, the children, they're not sick or anything, we just want to do routine checks. So that means we will never be able to do it except the children are on holiday. So maybe it's our fault though, maybe it's partly our fault, maybe we would have done this during the holidays, just long holidays. But giving them appointment during school hours is almost, because that's another thing, they cannot even miss school except there's like a valid doctor's report. So in my mind, I'm like, are they trying to say the children should not go to school? Like, it would have been nice if they made it flexible for especially children of that age who are in school. One thing again I love about the system in Malta is that father and mother, usually they will always be present for their children, at least in my children's school. Like, when we have like concerts for the children or any events at all for the children, even though the parents are separated, you still see that they kind of, let's say, agree or so just because of the children. Like, you will still see them being present in any activity in school. Like, in fact, sometimes you see mother, father, and grandparents. Like, it's really beautiful to see. So they try to encourage that, both mother and father will be involved in the children's life, in their lives, like, especially in school and stuff. So most times when they have all these activities, it's usually during school hours. So during, like, I mean, obviously well, I don't expect that to be in the evening. So for any activity that or event that they organize at school, we always have to apply for leave in most cases. So I mean, that's not a drawback though, but that's just, I wish there was some sort of, let's say, school children's, what would I call it, a parenting leave, for all those days. But I mean, it is what it is. But to be honest, generally, like, see, I couldn't even really mention any drawback, because I won't say the appointments are drawbacks. It is what it is. Parenting in Malta has been good. It's been, I cannot imagine how it would have been if we were still in Nigeria. First of all, we would have been paying plenty school fees. So another thing is, in terms of state schools, maybe the only disadvantage I would see is in terms of standard of education, which I've talked about before, in the sense that they can be 1 or 2 years behind in primary level. I'm not sure about if that is what applies in secondary level, but I mean, the foundation and everything starts from when they are young anyway, so, but even at that, like, I have a friend who has children in state schools, but geez, if you see the kind of things that these children do, like, I'm like, wow. So you have to be very intentional, you have to be present, like she prints out a lot of stuff for these children. At the end of the day, there's no bad school, it's about the parents. In fact, there are some people that even homeschool their children. So you can you just have to be very present and intentional about the children. So I'm wishing all children in Malta a very happy scholastic year. That's what they call it. The session starts September and ends in June. Have a scholastic year. Go and do exploits, go and excel, go and succeed, go and achieve your dreams. Like in some schools, I've already seen, like, let's say pep talks and quotes, motivational quotes everywhere, like that kind of stick around, at the beginning of this new school year, just to kind of, let's say, ginger the children and all that. So peace out and see you in my next video.